Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Federico Talks Watches. Today, I want to talk about 5 very iconic watches that I won't wear. But of course, before we get started, let's do the customary wristwatch check. Today I'm wearing my Girard-Perregaux Laureato Evo 3 Moonphase Big Date Power Reserve. What can I say? You guys know I'm a fan. I absolutely love it. And also, guys, don't forget to check out DelReyWatch.com. A bunch of new watches in stock, including the least expensive in the country, Rolex Oyster Perpetual 41 Green Dial. These have come under $10,000 for the first time in a long time. A very rare, only one being sold in the world, Patek Philippe vintage watch with an onyx stone dial. This one is a blast from the past and a hell of a value considering the stone dial and the gold bracelet. And for you guys that want something a little bit more rough and tumble, a Breitling Super Ocean Heritage. We have it in black, we have it in blue. These just came in, a great value dive watch. And also, guys, don't forget to check out the gear section at the top. This is an AP hat, but we just uploaded a whole bunch of new brand gear. All at DelReyWatch.com, the best place for a watch geek to buy a watch. Link in the description below. So anyway, guys, iconic watches. We all know what a lot of the models are, but just because they're iconic doesn't mean you have to like them. Or maybe you like them, but for some reason, you just can't wear them. Not to be overly negative, but I'm just going to talk about 5 iconic watches I personally can't wear. Just like in the past, I've said what my favorite iconic watches are. These are for entirely different reasons and in no particular order. We're going to start with the IWC Big Pilot. IWC's icon, along with the Portuguese, this big vintage-inspired pilot watch has an in-house movement with a 7-day reserve, extremely well made, so why can't I wear it? It's just not my style. Horologically speaking, the same movement is in the Portuguese 7-day. I'd wear the Portuguese, but the Big Pilot, the crown's too big for me. It doesn't fit me well. I don't like the riveted strap. Nothing against the Big Pilot as a watch. I get it, and if you love it, that's awesome. But for me personally, I just don't ever see it on my wrist. Different strokes for different folks. Next, a watch that I'm sure you guys could guess was on the list. That is a black Rolex Submariner. Now, I've owned Submariners before. I've had a pre-ceramic version, and I've had a Hulk. And what's there to say about a Submariner? Really nothing bad, right? The most iconic watch of all time. Well made, extremely tough, very versatile, massively overpriced. That is the one negative, but they're way too common. Submariners are everywhere, at least in Miami and New York, literally everywhere. And if I'm spending 5 figures on a watch, I want something unique, something that speaks to me, something that lets me express my personality. And all the Submariner expresses, in my opinion, is boring. Yep, not on my wrist. And of course, continuing with the Rolex theme, we're going to go with the Daytona. The Daytona, one of the most iconic chronographs of all time. You know, it always wore a little too small for me. It's way too expensive. I find it bland. Yes, a vintage Zenith Daytona I could potentially see on my wrist at some point in the future, but even that doesn't excite me too much. Once again, it's too iconic. It's too cherished. It's too sought after. I find it a boring choice. And monetarily speaking, I think you can get a lot more watch for a lot less money than a Daytona. If you love it, I get it. It's the grail watch of millions of people, just not this guy. Now, one that pains me, the Cartier Tank Louis. One of the most iconic watches of all time, one of the most elegant watches of all time. Arguably the most elegant dress watch, an iconic dress watch of all time, and you guys know I love dress watches. Unfortunately, as much as I'd love to wear it, it's just too small. If I was a thinner man, I'd absolutely wear one. Now, there are other versions, like the Tank Solo or the Tank Extra Thin, but they don't have the same round case style that the Tank Louis has. The Tank Louis is the most beautiful tank. Even though the others look very similar, this is the most beautiful one. And the biggest size is just way too small for me. And I don't hate small watches, but you guys see what I look like, and a tank on this wrist, the Tank Louis, would look entirely wrong. And now for the first watch I actually actively dislike. The Patek Philippe Aquanaut, one of Patek's icons. I'm going to be harsh here, and this is entirely my opinion. This is originally made to be the Patek Philippe for people that can't afford Patek Philippe. This was a cost-cut Nautilus with a rounded case and no detail. Now, in today's market, an Aquanaut is worth way more than a Calatrava. But when I was working retail around 2009, 2010, the Aquanaut was for, hey, you can't afford a Patek? Get an Aquanaut. And you can tell. The case is lacking detail, it's lacking finishing. The bracelet is absolutely hideous on this watch. The rubber is the better option, but obviously the rubber is a lot less expensive than the bracelet. Yes, the movement is still the same movement as the Nautilus, but it's just there's no detail here. All this money for what is essentially a watch Patek made to be entry level. And now it's way more than a Calatrava, and I'd much rather have a Calatrava. Once again, you like the Aquanaut, I get it. I understand it. Well, no, I don't understand it. It doesn't matter if I understand it or not. If you like it, that's all right. But I think it's a massively overpriced turd. Anyway, guys, that's it for me today. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Really does help. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more content. And of course, I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.